Good evening and welcome to Magic Park for this Friday night match of the round in the Northern New South Wales NPL. And it's a classic case of top versus bottom, but don't let the ladder fool you. This one has the potential to throw up some spark. Magic come in as the league leaders after leapfrogging Edgeworth with a composed 2-0 win over Valentine midweek. They've been the benchmark this year, but as coach Jim Cressner warned during the week, tonight is a danger game. Why, you may ask? Well, because the last time these two met, it was an 8-goal shootout, and by Cressner's own admission, New Lambton were the better side for large patches of that match. Magic may have prevailed 5-3, but they were anything but comfortable. For New Lambton, the search for their first win of the season continues. They've shown glimpses, including that performance in round 3, but it's been 9 matches without a victory. Tonight, they unveiled Japanese midfielder Kanata Furatani, and coach Shane Price hopes he's the spark that lifts the Golden Eagles off the canvas. So top of the table security meets bottom of the ladder desperation. Expect intensity, expect urgency, and expect the unexpected under lights here at Magic Park. I'm Chris McPherson, bringing you all of the action on the Northern New South Wales Football YouTube channel. And alongside me tonight is Newcastle Jets Academy coach Damien Zane. Good to have you back, Damien. Can you see a way the Golden Eagles spring an upset tonight?
Well, just looking at the bench of Broadmeadow Magic, I'm going to say no, but football's a funny game. So I have watched New Lambton a couple of times. One was up at Maitland. I was watching on TV one day, and they play some decent football, to be honest. I think scoring has been a bit of an issue, but maybe the new signing might solve that. So, but good young team, a lot of ex-Jets boys, so they've got a bit of potential, led by a good leader in Pitto. So yeah, hopefully it's a good match.
Well, they welcome back Josh Pittington from the ankle injury that's seen him out for a little bit, and a lot's fallen on the shoulders of a man that you talked about, some of those ex-Jets in Kent Harrison, who I think he's all of 25, has been the experienced leader for the last few games, which is a lot to ask of a guy all of 25.
Yeah, and it's a different beast, I guess, trying to lead from up the front. I think it's a bit more natural to have your leaders either in the centre of the park or up the back, and yeah, that might just take a bit of pressure off Kent and hopefully lead to him scoring some goals as far as New Lambton goes. And it'd be interesting to see Furatani and see what he's got. I know I coached Kago Moriyasu out at Edgeworth, and we didn't quite know what we had there, so I'm sure they're hoping for something similar.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy if he injected something like that, something like a Kota Mizunuma has at the Jets even. There's been some really good Japanese imports. There's been some not so glowing ones. We might not mention them by name tonight, but let's take a look at how the two teams do line up. Starting with the visitors, New Lambton. In goals will be 34, Sam Esquilant. Number 2 is Jagger Holler. Number 3, Caleb Reid. Number 6 is Cam Howard. Number 8, Tom O'Connor. Number 9, Tapu Gura. Number 10 is that new import in Kanata Furatani. Number 11, the man we talked about before, Kent Harrison. Number 15, the live wire in Varley Brandis. 18, Jackson McClyman. And 23, the experience of Josh Pittington. They are coached by Shane Price. Off of Broadmeadow Magic, in goals will be number 1, Lewis Alvarez. Number 2 is Sam Camper. Number 3, Ben Diamond. Number 5, Will Ingham. Number 6, Luke Corcoran. Number 7, Riley Smith. Number 8, Jack Simmons. Number 12, Cody Nancaro. Number 17, Ezra Palambini. Number 19, Ryan Ensor. And number 21, James Cressner. They are coached by Jim Cressner. And as we see the two teams line up, you did talk about it before, Damien, in terms of the bench makeups. And if we look at New Lambton, they've got Hugh Brown, Giles Harrison, Reinhard Lloyd, Ethan Crotty, Dylan Christopherson. But then we look at some of the names on the Broadmeadow bench. We've got Jaden Stewartson, Bailey Wells, Tom Parks and Jeremy Wilson. Those 4 guys walk into almost any starting lineup here across the league.
We'll add Tom Beecham in there, and yeah, it's a pretty impressive squad that they've got. And just looking at the list, you still got guys like Jared Baker not even in the squad. So yeah, they're very strong, aren't they? You look at them and you sort of don't see a way. But like I said, football's a funny game and lots of emotions. If things aren't working how they should or as expected, then sometimes that can lead to upsets happening. So time will tell.
Yeah, Saram Lee as well, not in action tonight. So it's quite wild, the depth of this squad here at Broadmeadow that Jim Cressner's got at his disposal. But as we know, these games aren't played on paper. So it's all about who can put the best 90 minutes out there. And as you touched on before, we've seen some real good windows from New Lambton this season. I called the game against Valentine only just over a month ago. and they look great for 65, 70 minutes. They scored some really good goals. Harrison got both of those. They create a number of other opportunities. They're young, they're enthusiastic. If they can get some momentum early here, then nothing is out of possibility. But as we said, Broadmeadow, very warm favourites here.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think too they're keen to get back on the park, New Lambton, and yeah, young, exuberant, and hopefully they're up for it.
We will see in time as they get underway here. Palambini out wide for Broadmeadow, their first attack. Simmons now drops it back long, and immediately Gura putting the pressure on. A couple of live wires in his New Lambton side, that's for sure. Ingram now just parries that into the defender, and they will get a corner straight away. It will be Jack Simmons to take it. An early set piece for the Magic on their home turf.
Substitutes bench for New Lambton. We have number 77, Reinhardt Lloyd, number 4, Samuel Donahue, number 13.
Just looking to see how they're setting up here. Ensor looking like he's shaping as maybe the target man. He goes short to the front post and is just driven back over the byline and will go all over again.
It's probably the last thing they wanted rather than clearing it, giving away another set piece, a second chance.
Simmons this time hits it better to the back post. Does get a header away from one of the defenders, but not completely dealt with. Still inside the 18-yard box. Corcoran tries to play it in now. It's cleared long. And the pressure abates for the moment. Just looking, it looks like Furitani setting up in the centre of midfield for them. They're hoping that he'll be the orchestrator there. Harrison, unsurprisingly, at the front of attack. Gura, he'll play on the right of their midfield. Contested here, just headers back and forward. New Lambton trying to clear it. Spills wide for Ingram again. And they lay it out. Happy to be patient here. Broadmeadow. Corcoran plays it wide. And Diamond taking his time. Lofts it out wide, creates some space for Ingram. Ball played in the box, dangerous chance here. Spills loose. And clear it wide, and it'll be a throw-in. To try and work out what's happening. We've got a player in a jersey change. We've got a jersey 22 out there. Always throws us for a bit of a spin, Zany, when they do that to us.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see the numbers from here, to be honest. So you're doing better than me.
That's what I've got the glasses for, mate. Without him, that'd all just be moving blurs. Ben Diamond, we'll work that out in a minute. Looks like it might be, is it Cody Nancaro over there in the 22? Named in the 12 jersey. I'll come back to that thought in a moment as it's lofted wide. It might be a little heavy for Ingram. It is. He can't quite get it before it goes across the byline.
Yeah, already you can sort of see that New Lambton's going to stay nice and compact. There's a good chance Furitani won't be like Moriarty because he's a completely different player. So looks like he's a midfielder. So I guess when we see Japanese players, we straight away think they're attackers out here. But yeah, he looked like, he's only had a couple of early touches, but the big question mark is the physicality, and it looks like he's up for that. So I'm not sure his playing history, but yeah, I'd say technically he's sound. That's for sure.
They're doing a little bit of very last-minute research because we weren't sure if he was going to make an appearance tonight. He's been a few years over in the US in some college systems, and he's played either attacking midfield or up front. So it is interesting to see that they're utilising him in that more traditional sort of 10 role there, and it'll be interesting to see what he's got. And again, I'm always the train spotter with these things. It looks like he's not wearing shin pads, which always intrigues me because we know it's physical in this competition, so that's a brave move.
Yeah, my son just ordered some shin pads online. They got delivered, and they're about 6 centimetres. Isn't saying that he's a goalkeeper, but yeah, it looks like he's got the same brand.
And the tiny little one's just covering the bottom a little bit under the socks down. Now, Gura can't control it. The referee has to dodge out of the way. It spills wide in the favour of New Lambton now. Howard spins it on. Now they put it forward, looking for O'Connor, but it's picked off. Camper again doing the work. Happy to be patient here, looking for what can present. And it's all playing it across, and now they switch it back to the left here. Ingham plays it down the line. Beanie. They continue to work it around here. Simmons swings wide to the right. Fed forward, looking for Nancaro, but shepherded away for the time being. Caleb Reid did reasonably well, but just overhit it in the end with his attempt to take it away. Now a chance here from Broadmeadow at the top of the 18-yard box. Fed in well. Escalante out to it and snaps it up.
Yeah, I think Broadmeadow changed a point really well there from left to right, and I think Sam Kemp had a lot more time than he probably thought. But that's something I think New Lambton won't want to happen. It's a massive park here, and if they just allow Broadmeadow to change the point of attack from side to side, they're going to do a fair bit of running today, I'd say, which is probably what they expect as well. But when they force it one way, I think they'll be looking to lock it in and not allow Broadmeadow to change a point and get their attacking players in space, because then it'll be real dangerous.
Certainly will. Brandis with a very half-hearted attempt there. Ball falls into the box dangerously. Played across. Simmons trying to get the shot away. Blocked well, but Broadmeadow creating early opportunities.
Yeah, that was Pitto with the block. Yeah, he loves coming to Magic Park, and I'm sure he'll be keen to cause an upset here.
Love nothing more as the ball crossed in, and that one's nearly ended up over at the basketball stadium. We're talking about this with Matty Butner when we're calling New Lambton the other week, just the sheer volume of games that Josh Piddington's played. I believe it's closing in on 450 NPL games across the grades, which is like just to be able to play that. I mean, he will admit he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's by far the oldest man in this team, but just the ability to overcome injuries and just continue to turn out at this level is hugely underrated.
Yeah, and there'd have to be years there where there's a 10-team comp, I think, and 18-game season. So it's phenomenal, really.
Well, I think that's what we worked out, even with the 22-game season and stuff. It's basically playing for, he must have debuted at 16 or 17.
Yep. And
has hardly missed a game realistically. So it's huge. We talk about players bring up 100 and 150, which is, their big careers as well. But, even you look at the A-League players, the likes of Topol Stanley, who we see out here, Jason Hoffman, these guys brought up 300 games in competitions where they played, 24, 25, 26 games in a season plus finals.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it was their job, and to maintain their body, which is essentially their tools, and for him to do it in a semi-professional setting is, I'm not sure anyone will ever break. I'm guessing it's a record.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. It'd be interesting to get the actual official number. That was just based on some snippets we sort of dug out at the start of the season. But yeah, if it's anywhere close to right on that money, and that is he brings up that 450 this year. And look, I mean, I know he's had the ankle injury this year, but it doesn't look like he's really slowing down. He still well and truly holds his own in this level. So
I think if you do as
shot
New
from
Lambton,
range and well over the crossbar for Broadmeadow.
Yeah, if you do as New Lambton are doing and put some young ones around him, the experience is great there, and it also gives him a helping hand. Obviously, you don't move quite as quick as what you once did, so
yeah, the slowing up of movement was a nice focus. Actually, speaking of games we called recently, when we called Lambton and Newcastle Olympic the other week, we had Ben Kanarowski on with me, and he was giving a lot of feedback about. We'll come back to that in a moment as New Lambton create a bit of an opportunity here. Take a shot from range, trying to chip the keeper, but well to the right. Yeah, Kenner was certainly making up some points on Roy O'Donovan and Ben Kennedy, and the fact that neither of them move as quick as they used to, which was great because we were standing right next to the dugout there at Arthur Eden, and Roy was sitting on the bench with no right of reply because he didn't have a microphone.
Yeah, you definitely don't move that quick when you're on the bench, that's for sure. But yeah, no, it catches up with everyone. But I know, you know, during my time at Edgeworth, we had Macca, and we had a young team and really young attacking team around him, and the dynamic was fantastic. You had an experienced player with young, vibrant players around. So, yeah, I always think you need that mixture of experience as well as young legs. So,
see how this develops here. Wide to Howard again. Tries to play it in for Gura. Gura with a firm challenge, and the referee's going to come back for that one. Just stepped in after the ball's gone. A bit of extra physicality. It's interesting watching how Broadmeadow are being sort of patient with a lot of their build-up here, and you're talking about it before, them switching that point. It's clearly a heavy track out there after all the weather we've had, and so any extra running is going to be, you know, it's going to be multiplied on top of the fact that you haven't played. You know, Broadmeadow played midweek, but New Lambton haven't played for quite a few weeks.
Yeah, and look, it's, I guess, first of all, New Lambton need to stay in the game, but, you know, as it goes on, the more they're chasing the ball, they're going to run out of steam, you'd think. But then you've got to also look at the ammunition. If Broadmeadow aren't ahead, the ammunition they've got to bring on, they're going to have to deal with that also. So, but they've started good. This would have been one of their aims, is to get through the first part scoreless.
Opportunity at the far post. Ball threaded back. Shot taken. Blocked again. Brandis that time, and away it comes. They've done well to defuse a few situations already, and now they're ranging forward, going on the counter. Gura trying to find an open lane, but Ingram tracking back does well just to pop it back to Alvarez.
There's a really good run there by Tommy O'Connor. He was a young player in the Jets program. So yeah, there's a few of them out there. So they've got some decent players out there, that's for sure. I wonder whether they've maybe exposed or planned on exposing a weakness there, because he had Akers there to run with the ball, better final pass, and they're in behind. So that might be a bit of a plan for them.
Here we go. Kresner now on the ball. Good strong tackle there from Brandis. And then he's clipped after he tries to deflect the pass backwards. We'll just have a foul for that. You can certainly see how when these two sides played last time with the styles they played, that it did end up with so many goals, because both sides are just, once they get the ball at the back and they see some opening, they're just all guns blazing towards the other end.
Yeah. Look, you look at Broadmeadow's team and there's goals everywhere, isn't there? And even New Lambton, he goes Ken Harrison. He's known to get a goal or two, and yeah, I remember seeing the score in that game, and I actually thought how well New Lambton must have done to sort of to score 3 goals, because we talk about the attack, but Broadmeadow's defence is full of big names also. So
yeah, they're equal second best defence in the competition. Everyone's, well, it's really daylight second behind Edgeworth's defence at the moment. They are absolute misers, the Eagles. But yeah, there's a few sides sitting there, just 11 goals conceded, just over 1 a game. So certainly a pretty stacked side, as we said, at both ends of the park, Broadmeadow. So to put 3 past them and get 3 past Lewis Alvarez, who's certainly a very talented keeper, as Magic take a long-range shot from about 25 out. Appeal for a foul, but the referee having none of that.
And I talked earlier about frustration, and that's probably a little win there for New Lambton, that, you know, Riley's shooting from 25 yards out. So I'd say they'd be pretty happy with this start. You know, like I said, I'm sure one of their aims would have been to be 0-0 or hopefully jag something early, and they've done that. So a little bit of frustration maybe starting to creep in, and they'll be looking just to sting on one of these counters.
Gura slips a little on the surface. Camper trying to fight with him. He knows the threat that Gura poses with that pace on the outside. He can accelerate rapidly from nothing. They work it back here, and now Brandis on the ball. Plays it wide. Holert. Climbing a heavy touch and gets probably fortunate there in the end because Broadmeadow can't control it and it goes over the sideline from Palambini. Throw falls though. They do get the ball away after taking it from the Broadmeadow Magic player, and Howard's going to try and take on 3 and get it away, and he does get it, fortunately falling. Broadmeadow composed at the back, and then they played out through their captain in James Krasner. Here they go again, just trying to work it around, trying to find the open avenues through New Lambton. Let's see who they can draw out of position. Actually now Simmons chips it over the top, looking for Palambini, finds him just inside the touchline. He takes on Holert, gets the 18-yard box, tries to cross it in. It's sent straight back out and falls for Ingram. Possessed with that. Misdirected pass though, and all of a sudden a half chance there. Harrison was tearing down looking for the through ball.
Yeah, and it looked like Ryan Enzer intercepted that, but probably disappointing he didn't get that ball in behind. There's plenty of space there for Kent, and just really had to hit or get it beyond Enzer there, and Harrison was in behind. So
you see a mistake here. Harrison with a chance. Gets to the outside, takes a shot. Alvarez can't take it cleanly. He's going to have to race over there. It's a foot race, he and Gura. And Alvarez does well just to keep it inside the byline and not allow Gura to pick it up. And that just shows, you know, Broadmeadow are having the run of it. To your point, Damien, a little bits of frustration. The little errors are starting to creep in with Broadmeadow. And it can't be easy. They're coming here probably expecting a script that they should take the 3 points. And when it's not quite playing out that way, it starts to become frustrating. It starts to become, you know, almost questions, bits of doubt, and that's when teams can grab one against the run.
Yeah, well, and they're playing a diamond in midfield, and they're leaving the 2 up front, and you saw just then, the benefit in that is when you win the ball, they were 2v2 straight away, so if they go quick and Broadmeadow's structure behind the ball isn't good enough, then they might find that opportunity they're looking for.
Here they go again. Heavy touch though. And you see the frustration immediately from O'Connor. He knew the chance that presented there. It's one of those things we talk about, you know, they might lack experience, but the opposite of experience that comes on the other side is youthful exuberance and, you know, a bit of pace, as we said. So
yep,
play to your strengths, and they're trying to do that at the moment, New Lambton. And, you know, Shane Price, obviously no stranger to, you know, getting the best out of his troops in this competition at a couple of different clubs now.
Yeah, well, you look, Tommy O'Connor's also in midfield. He's at the top of the diamond, marking Luke Corcoran. So it's man for man up the top. So any errors, Broadmeadow, New Lambton's got three players up top that can break quickly. So the rest of that diamond's going to have to work awfully hard on this field, because it's to play a diamond shape is quite narrow, and it's a massive field. But
first real glimpse of Furitani taking some players on. Looked quite good, as you said, the tight control and the skills are there. It's the right sort of signs that we wanted to see in his first hit out.
This is where it will, as he gets on. You saw the diamond was a bit narrow there, McClyman, and it's a lot of
Simmons
running.
takes a strike from range, well over the crossbar. All optimistic and off target.
Yeah, as the game goes on, that's where the fullbacks from Broadmeadow love to get forward, and they start creating little 2v1s wide. And as I said, I don't know a hell of a lot about all of New Lambton's substitutes, but I'd hope there's a few midfielders that can run, because I think they're going to need it as it goes on.
Ends it down. He got collected heavily. The referee was happy with the contest. Slowly coming back to his feet. The referee's pulled that up, and now he's going to come over and check on him. Ryan still suggesting that maybe it should have been a foul, but the referee had a clear line of sight on it and was happy with it. So
yeah, it's fairly solid. I didn't quite see it all, but could hear it. And
it's always a good sign when there's a visible noise, an audible noise, I should say. Visible noise, that's a different one. Audible noise from the contact, and I mean, we're probably fortunate it was right in front of us in our elevated position here. Magic now looking to probe forward again. Kresno goes wide. Across the end of the box. Rattles the top of the net, but it's the wrong side for Broadmeadow. They are threatening, though. They've had plenty of shots. Not too many on target as of yet. Certainly Damien not afraid of chancing their hand when they get down there from, even from range, which you might see as a positive sometimes. But I think it goes back to that point of yours, that they're maybe feeling a bit frustrated and feeling they need to, rather than try and play where they look dangerous early, trying to play it into the box. They're just taking almost, not quite pot shots, but half chances. Yeah,
no, I think early on they were around the box combining and looking for little through balls and that's sort of gone out of their game. It's sort of either wide crosses or shots from distance, and I think New Lambton are going to back themselves to defend that. The boy beside Piddo, Brandis, he looks like a pretty solid young centre back, and probably a good pairing with Piddo. So they'll be happy with any wide crosses, dealing with it aerially. So I'd say so far they're winning the tactical contest. I think it's going how they want. Really, they're not going to dominate the ball, but they'll be pretty happy. There hasn't really been a clear chance for Broadmeadow, and they've probably had the best chance of the game.
You have to agree. Yeah, Brandis was impressive in that other match of the round. We called him in his German heritage import. Again, like their Japanese imports, come through the US college system for a few years, which is, if you're in the right colleges and the right competitions, it's a really good proving ground, I guess, too. We're starting to see that with some of the both male and female players here that go and take their opportunities. Probably more pronounced in the women's game at the moment.
Yeah, the youth team had a player, Murray Pert. It's just gone over to the US, and it's a fantastic opportunity where they can get a degree, and also I've heard the facilities are unbelievable over there, so it's a good opportunity to do both things.
Well, threaded in, deflected. Ferratani fires it over the sideline. Well, yeah, you have to think, some of these colleges, with the amount they'd invest into their football and basketball programs and stuff, you're probably using the same gyms and other facilities. So nice little side bonus. The Americans are investing plenty of money in their football as well, especially with a home World Cup coming next year. So I'll have the best of a lot of it.
Yeah, I think we're quite jealous of what they've got, to be honest. Facility-wise, everything I've heard back from players that have gone over there has been superb. So
shortish corner, tries to be returned to the corner taker, but it's going to go across the sideline for a throw in deep in defensive territory for New Lambton. We could talk about, maybe Australia having to get a World Cup, but, that might involve some, getting some votes from FIFA, and we don't want to go down that route on commentary. I don't think that could be an interesting conversation for another day. Ingram plays it back now, ends up back on his feet, which is good to see, and back into stride, plays it through the midfield to Simmons. The Climate breaks it up. O'Connor does well, clatters across, takes the ball. Harrison comes back to get it, turns it back for Holer, out for Gura. Gura thinks about putting on the afterburners to the outside, but just continues the battle with Ingram, and then Jagger Holer heads it across the sideline.
There's a solid challenge by O'Connor in the middle there, but fair one. And again, Tom's probably not your natural attacking midfielder, so he could play defensive midfielders, played up the back even. So he's quite good defensively. So you just see that tackle, if that springs to the strikers, again, I talk about the numbers, you can see it now, they're 2v2 up the top, so...
Esquillant races across there, just grabs that before a Magic attacker can get onto it.
So that might be another avenue by winning the ball. Any time it seems to go in the centre of the park, that diamond sort of swarming the ball. So, you know, your Jack Simmons, etc., just aren't finding the space that they're accustomed to finding.
Defence breaks up that attack. Diamond happy just to lay it back to Alvarez. Ensor now. And they look to use the width. Let's see how congested that middle channel is. Plenty of space on the flanks for Broadmeadow. And surprisingly, when we look at that structure, as Damien talked about, Ensor now decides to go aerially out wide to the right to Camper.
I think this is where they've got to change a point. Back out here. Here we come. You know, McClymont's now having to work. Jack Simmons making a nice forward run.
And Caro plays it in the middle. Now some space.
Yeah.
Opens up there. Corcoran. Camper. Palambini chips it forward. Smith parried by Esquillant. Secondary shot and it goes in. And that was just working them side to side. Beautiful work in the end, and that Ingram that got the goal.
Yeah, fantastic finish. He's got a lovely left foot. Again, they changed the point a couple of times there, and you just can't allow that with the diamond. Otherwise, you're going to be overloaded in wide areas.
Did so well on such a tight angle to get it back past the keeper. Esquillant was there at the near post, but the shot just had too much on it from Ingram.
Yeah, I think when it went down the left side, obviously they changed your point from right to left. I think when that happened, New Lambton's really got to get back in and try and clog that middle up and not allow it to change again, because then they're just shifting too far. It's too much for the diamond to get across. So yeah, they'll be disappointed with that. It's a pretty decent strike too. So.
Certainly, like I said, the angle, the power just made it so tough. But here we go. They surge forward, the Eagles. Optimistic ball into the box. McClymont gets ahead to it, headed on again. Piddington created it. The flag goes up, though. You can see Piddington pushing all the way up there. And really surging numbers forward when they get the opportunity to go on the attack.
Yeah, he's quite dangerous. He's scored a few goals over there. He is great header of the ball.
So strong there in close quarters, isn't he? I think that's the thing that makes him so dangerous in the box. Obviously at both ends, but when he comes up and loads into the attack, he's just so physically strong. Palambini dispossessed.
Yeah, again they're trying to force it there. I really think Magic, once they get in these tight areas, there we go, out the other way. The 1-6 can't shift across that far. They then start opening up centrally as well, especially as they fatigue. I can really see someone like Bailey Wells finding space.
Smith threads this one nicely into the 18-yard box. It's cleared away. Yeah, you feel, especially if he comes on against side bodies, Bailey Wells could wreak some havoc there, right? Like, it's just perfectly set for someone like him. But you can also see why, Shane Price has tried to go with something a little bit different with the diamond here. And
yeah, no, look, to be fair, it was just prior to that goal where they let it change sides twice in a row. That's too much. Once, you might be able to get back and defend, but then you've got to make sure it doesn't go back over again. But I just saw Ben Diamond then getting on good angles too, and positioning himself really well, that if the midfield can't change the point, maybe he can. So
all threaded forward, looking for Gura. He's in between two. And we're going to have a corner. I was going to say, it looked like Ensor, who's now down on the ground again. He's had a rough night, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a great story. When I coached here, he was fantastic for us. Could fill so many roles, and great trainer, great voice in the sheds. And, yeah, he's had some horrific injuries, and great to see him back.
It is hopefully nothing too serious here, but he just sort of might have got sandwiched with his own teammate a little bit as they both tried to shut down the lane for Gura. And one thing we know about him is that it's going to take probably a bit more than that to completely stop him. He's back straight into position, and they loft this one in dangerously, but Alvarez comes out and punches it with 2 fists. Clear. Threat not completely dealt with though, New Lambton. Try and cross it in, and Campo with a strong header back across the sideline and up onto the hill. Long throw, looking for Gura. And so does well, takes it away from him, and straight away Broadmeadow roll forward. You immediately see they try and get the spread happening. They know they're playing against a compact defence. Ingram with all the space in the world, and he's happy to take it on. Plays it out to Palambini now. Howlett hustling. Back to Ingram. Ensa's there as well. Header breaks it up for New Lambton. Connor fighting. Corcoran and he probably more interested in each other rather than the ball. Ball threaded through for Gura. Can he pull it up before the byline? Just got a touch to it, but wasn't on target. They're showing the danger they've got there, New Lambton. They're certainly not resigned to their fate early here in Broadmeadow Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, there's a nice little idea there. Just overhit that pass, a touch, Cam Howard. Another decent young player. Looks very heavy out there. Obviously, there's been a lot of rain. You know, you get 2 or 3 sunny days and everyone forgets about the torrential rain we had. But you imagine some of these players haven't played in a month, you know. So it's gonna, fatigue's going to play a factor, and that's where I find it hard to see a way back for New Lambton with that bench of Broadmeadows.
Great, here they go, switching again. Camper going forward, well dealt with in the end. Caleb Reid clears it long. Hiddington calm and composed. Reid again. Camper all over him. All of a sudden, 2 other Broadmeadow Magic jerseys converge, and now Kresner drives a shot into the back of Piddington, and all pinball straight off his back. They're not done with yet. Camper lofts this high into the box towards the back post, and Jagger Hollett just happy to head it across the byline. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We touched on it before. Broadmeadow played on Tuesday night. New Lambton haven't played for a matter of weeks, and again, it's just the peculiarities of when you can get games, when you can get onto venues and those sorts of things. And on the heavy field here, the girls played here Wednesday night as well, which, you know, you understand everyone's got to get on, but that would have chopped it up a little bit. We can see it's just they've had the reserve grade game as well, as that one's headed just over the crossbar. Almost a chance to double it.
Yeah, there's a great ball in there. And Ryan Enza, not a tall guy, but he's got a fantastic vertical leap, and probably disappointed he didn't score there. He doesn't score many.
Prime opportunity to double that lead.
Possibly that's why. There's O'Connor making another forward run. He's got an amazing work rate, so he's going to keep going for the 90.
It's interesting too when you look at sort of the run ahead for these teams. Broadmeadow have got an Australia Cup game in a week and a bit as well, so on the long weekend, so that'll be on the 7th of June. They take on Maitland up at Cook Square, and then New Lambton, they have a run after the long weekend where I think in a matter of about 16 days they've got 4 games. So it's a hard one. So New Lambton, as we said, haven't played for about 3 weeks, and then they won't play for another. They'll have the long weekend off. So they'll have 1 game essentially in 5 weeks, and then 4 in 16 days. It's hard as to how you prepare your troops for that, especially, and no disrespect for New Lambton here, their squad doesn't run nearly as deep as Broadmeadow's does.
No, well, I was going to say, you look at Broadmeadow's squad, they're made for a run in the cup, and obviously aspirations to win the league, and go get a grand final as well if possible. Then you got the second division coming up, so you know you're going to need a squad if you want to achieve success over multiple competitions. You're going to need a squad like them.
Certainly will. The corner comes in low and flat. Reid sees it off, racing up, parried down. Corcoran was sliding in with all his might there to try and, I think he was just hoping he could send it the way of a Broadmeadow jersey in that box and create some chaos, but unfortunately Reid was back to it and saw it across the sideline.
You know, and touching on the 4 games in 16 days, I guess you don't know till after the 16 days how that, whether it was a good thing playing games or not. So.
Yeah. Get a bit of momentum, you know, start to get some points. All of a sudden they could go on a little bit of a run and, you know, they pick up 6 or 7 points. All of a sudden find themselves either, you know, off the bottom of the ladder or right in that battle with those teams above them in Valentine and Bell Swans who actually play this weekend.
Well, their performance here, I mean, you know, they're a bit unlucky to be down, to be honest. And I don't think losing to Broadmeadow at Magic Park's going to be their demise this season. If they can back this type of performance up against the teams around them, I think that's the key for them. I can see them winning games if they perform at this level. You know, they've had a plan and they've executed it fairly well.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the key, isn't it? Especially those teams I just mentioned, Valentine, Bell Swans, because not only is it crucial, you know, to try and beat those teams around you just for the sake of getting points. As we see, Simmons feeds it into the box and the flag goes up for offside. But obviously it means they're not getting the points too, right? So it closes the gap rather than opening it. So that'll be interesting when we do get to that point of the season. And I think that's sort of more towards the back end, looking at the fixtures that are to come for New Lambton, because their next few games are Olympic, Edgeworth, Western and Maitland. So they've got, it's a tough run. Maitland, one of those sides, though, we saw, you know, they had a draw with them last time they played them. And as you said, they were probably the better team in that game for a lot of it. All of a sudden, Kent Harrison gets free here at the top of the 18-yard box. He had Alvarez out of his box, crosses it in. Alvarez does well, spills it, does well to retrieve it again. There's a glint of hope there for the Eagles fans.
Yeah, and we're probably talking as if this game's done and dusted. It's definitely not that. I was about to say, you know, if they can get in down 1-0 at half-time, they'll be quite happy. But, you know, 1-1, that'd be even better.
It certainly is. Yeah, I mean, all the things point towards that, but that's the wonderful thing about football, is Jagger Hollett does well to take it away from a stumbling Ezra Palambini. Doesn't take much. All of a sudden, you know, something changes and you can have all the possession, all the names on your team sheet and a quick goal and then, you know, grinding it out here.
I think that just showed there, that 1v1 defending. Jagger Hollett and Caleb Reid, again, 2 boys that have been in the Jets Academy. They're quite competent defenders 1v1. So that's where I sort of talk about changing the point, trying to get them shifted to one side and create 2v1s. Because if you just go direct to the wingers to a 1v1, New Lambton's fullbacks are quite competent, like I said. So it's been quite clever tactically what they've done. Pricey's got a plan, and like I said, they'll be really probably disappointed. They're down at the moment.
Yeah, they're certainly right in this contest, and as you said, that's probably the frustration, and it might be a little bit of youth and inexperience too. This isn't the first game, unfortunately, as Shane Price well knows. At the end of the season, if they are sitting in that 12th spot, all of the good efforts and everything else won't amount to much. But again, you know, if they were able to get themselves, you feel like just with what they offer here, if they're able to get themselves even up into the 11th and go into those playoffs with the cohesion and, you know, what they'll have built by that point, you know, a bit of youthful exuberance doesn't hurt in knockout style football too. So it's a long season still to come though. Most of these sides not even at the midpoint. I think Valentine the only one who've hit the 11 games down in that lower end of the table.
Yeah, and you'll expect they're a young team, so they're only going to get better. So I think if they were to get themselves up to 11th, they'd feel they're a decent chance by the end of this season that they can win that playoff series. So Yeah, they're only a win of, you know, when you haven't won, I can only imagine it gets in your head, and when you go down, it makes it even tougher. But yeah, one win can change a lot.
Cross comes in from Nankara, headed away. I'll come back to that thought in a moment. Nankara towards the edge of the 18-yard box, drives that and absolutely overcooks it, and it ends up going across the byline out near the corner flag. And yeah, well, they say that, don't they? You know, winning's a habit, but so's losing. And unfortunately, you know, and it looked stereotypically like that when they had that game against Valentine. They led the game. They led 2-1 late in the game. And then all of a sudden, Hollett was sent off. They conceded a penalty for that. Valentine converted the penalty and then just found one of those balls that just bounced around in the box and it sat. And again, the bounce the ball sometimes, you know, it's one of those things that manifests, I guess. You know, if you're a team that's in good form and you're winning, sometimes it just sits for you. As we see it now sit in front of Nankara. He heads towards the box. Hollett does well just to body him off. And again, that's that good one-on-one defending.
Yeah, it's Firatani that time. Oh, gee. The ball's on to tap. Gura was on here. He made a nice little double movement.
Corcoran now. Plays it out to Ingram. He's been impressive so far. Nice ball out in front of Palambini. And Varley Brandis just absolutely clatters into him. Certainly something you note. There's been a few times where, you know, players have been wrestling each other and stuff just adjacent to the ball. And the referee's just happy if both players are going in willing just to say, right, well, if you want to focus on that rather than football, well, have at it, boys, which I don't mind.
No, consistency's key. I don't think anyone complains if the ref's consistent, and to be fair, he's been pretty consistent. So,
Caro crosses in, a better cross this time from the corner, headed over again. This time by a defender. He might have been Caleb Reed surging through the pack. Another corner this time. The northeastern corner of Magic Park. The final few minutes of the first half here, and as we've talked about, Magic lead, but New Lambton have far from disgraced themselves with this performance. They've been right in this contest.
And it was a fair strike to bring him undone, so.
It certainly was. We'll see here what can Broadmeadow conjure from this corner. They've had plenty of corners. Drop this one close to the front post, almost an opportunity. Scuffed from range in the end. And then away they come. Ben Diamond would love to have had that header again. He only just been able to get up vertically a little. He might have been able to nod it into the back of the net, but it remains 1-0. Will Ingram, the sole goal scorer, with that super strike from the left-hand edge, as Damien alluded to just before. Enser. Wide to Ingram, who again, as he has for most of the game, lots of space. A nicely threaded ball looking for Kresna, but it was just bouncing beyond his outstretched left boot. Escalante all the time in the world just rolls it outside his box and sends it long. Harrison and Diamond collide, and this has been the story of the day, Damien. Most of these physical challenges, the New Lambton are actually coming out on top of.
Yeah, I think Tap needs to get a bit closer there to Kent. If Kent's going to challenge for the ball, someone's got to take a risk if he flicks it on. And I think that's where they're going to find their goal, from a forward run. And
see Smith now on a forward run to the edge of the 18-yard box. Reed trying to shut him down. Piddington gets there, puts it across and hit well from range. Falls dangerously. Then Carey with a second effort just above the crossbar and to the right. That first strike from Palambini, though, forced a strong save.
I think it was Simmons, actually, over there. Yeah, Jack coming forward. Great save by Sam. He's a good young keeper as well. Like I said, you know, if New Lambton are to turn this around, even if they get into 11th spot by the end of the year, they'll be a much better team, because they'll continue to grow. Being such a young team.
It spills out for Guri, does well, keeps it inside the sideline. Loses his footing a little, gets sandwiched in the end. The ball comes away. The referee says play on. There's that consistency we're talking about. He continues just to We'll let the players, if they're getting in and putting their body on the line. Kresner slides in and kicks it across the sideline, and they'll take the throw. They go into Furatani. What can he conjure here? Again, losing his footing. You just see a few of the players having a bit of trouble with traction. Riley Smith steps over that one. I think it'll outpace everyone across the sideline. It will.
Yeah, I think he just had a look at the big fella coming at him then, and thought he might just leave that one. He's a big boy, Brandis.
I'd like to see the set piece. He's obviously tall and physical.
Yeah, well, like I said, if they can get a few set pieces and create some pressure, you know, you got Pitto, you know, is a threat, but I'm not sure how he heads the ball, Brandis, but he's definitely tall enough to win a header.
A couple of good, even a couple of other options in the likes of McClymont and O'Connor. You feel Broadmeadow not an overly tall team either, so
no, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely an avenue to goal for them.
Speaking of avenues to goal, nice threaded ball. Smith now tries to cross it in. Dangerous Escalante, can't get it, and Ingram's got a double. A nice tap in this time. He didn't have to kick it into the top corner and fire it past the keeper. It was an open net in the end, and Sam Escalante and New Lambton will be ruining that one. The first up save was great, but Ingram just finds it easily at the back post.
Yep, that's what Will does. He scored a famous cup goal for us a few years ago at the back post up at Cook Square Park. Get us into the main round of the FFA Cup, and when he came to Magic, he came out of the Jets youth team, and left fullback who's got great delivery, loves going forward, defends well, and has an eye for goal. So left back to score 2 goals in a game isn't bad.
Well, between this season and last season, coming into this game, he had 4 goals in total. So he's equalled last season's tally of 3 this year with 3 and got a double.
Yep.
Hollett now. We're into stoppage time here in the first half, so that was a bit of a heartbreaker for Shane Price and his New Lambton crew in the shadows of half-time. Piddington tries to feed it forward, but exactly as I say that, the whistle does go for half-time from our referee, and you have to say, Magic, they haven't been clinical, but they've been professional with this first half. They've used their width, they've taken a couple of their chances, and they aren't showing why they're top of the pile despite things not quite going their way. But they'll know from their round 3 game, Damien, that New Lambton won't go away and they can come to life after the break, so the job is far from done.
Yeah, look, that second goal was a killer, wasn't it? I mean, it looked like Jagger Hollett had was going to clear it, and then Sam Escalante doesn't know that, but he...
Oh yeah, that's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good. yeah, that's the feeling. Progress. momentum, getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good.
Leave it on the side of the road. No, that's why I got a hotel. Yeah, at the moment. I mean, I live in the centre. I live in Redford, right in the centre, so I don't really need it, unfortunately. But yeah, no, look, I have no problem at all. As long as you don't mind, I'll try and get there because I think the game I went to at 8, we're finishing at 8 o'clock. So as soon as I'm done with that, just depending on what time you want me to clock off and go to bed. I don't know. Quick body. That's why I'm looking at hands. Just right in the center, right the Ibis. Yep. Right near the train station.
Welcome back to Magic Park. Friday Night Lights, match of the round here in Broadmeadow, and it is the top of the table. Broadmeadow Magic leading 2-0 against New Lambton FC, and while many would have predicted that Magic would be leading at the break, it's certainly not expected, I guess, Damien Zane, that it was a Will Ingram double that has them by that 2-goal margin.
Yeah, well, he's got it in him. Done really well, as has the Bill Burns down here with the pitchfork and the stamper, doing a good job on the field at half time.
He's been working overtime. He's probably got 3 more metres than most of the players have.
A lot of energy, that guy, let me tell you. But does a great job at the club and really well respected within it.
Set for resumption here, and the question, Damien, you've been in plenty of these change rooms at half-time with all sorts of different score lines and different sorts of situations. What would have the conversation been from Shane Price, do you think?
I think, more of the same. I think they'll be disappointed. And being a young group, I'm sure they would have been reinforcing that they've done quite well. And the second goal especially, right on half-time, was tough to take. But I'd say they set small goals like, be the next team to score, and let's, reevaluate and go from there. But they're in this game. Games can change very quickly, but they're going to need to be at their best.
Foul called there on Kresner in the back of Brandis. And what about on the other side, speaking of Kresner, Kresner Senior in gym, do you think he would have been happy with what he saw in the first half? I know he'd probably be happy with the score line, but areas for improvement still?
Yeah, look, he'd be happy because it's 2-0. You're never unhappy when you're winning. As much as we said, it's probably good they had a run this week. There'll be a few boys that are doubling up that probably are a bit heavy-legged, having not played in a while. So they'll be looking, I'd say, to consolidate this first 15 minutes and then unleash that substitutes bench.
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing, as you say, because it's also not just about bringing in some of those talented individuals, but managing that workload of off a break, having 2 games in 4 days.
I think they'll be looking to keep the ball like they have, make the field big and really tire the New Lambton players out.
Ingram cutting in, he's sniffing about, gives it to Smith, threaded across, and sprayed across the bar. Cody Nancaro, open goal, could have extended the lead.
Should have. Great play. They, like I said, they use the whole field. I think, if you're going to defend with a front 2 like New Lambton, you can't allow the centre backs to just circulate the ball around them. That was just too easy. And on Magic Park, you're going to be running and you're going to be defending players in big spaces. So they need to step up there and not allow that so easily. But it was well played and should be 3-0.
Reid does well to pick that off.
That pass there is the key.
Caleb Reid clatters in heavily here. The referee straight to his pocket. A little bit of push and shove now. Sam Camper. And it's straight to the pocket for a red card. The 4th official right there, and he's had a consultation with him. And a straight red, and that is going to cruel New Lambton's slim hopes of a comeback. And we just hope that there's nothing too serious here. For Cody Nancaro here on the ground, clutching his lower leg.
In his defence, I don't think Reedy had the intent there. It was a bit clumsy, and when you lift your feet off the ground, you're going to get yourself into trouble. It was quite nasty in the end, but I really don't think he had the intent to hurt him there. I may be wrong, but the way I saw it is just, you've got to be careful now when you're tackling and lifting your feet in the air, whether they come down. But it was a nasty tackle, so it's fair enough.
You certainly understand. I think, again, from our viewpoint, we're just up above the collision. It really looked like Nancaro kind of propped and caught in the grass as Reid then tried to come through. And as you said, once you raise your boot, though, and you make contact with the boot first on the player, you're leaving it in the referee's hands. And, again, it was one of those ones like the first half where there was an audible noise in the impact. There's a lot of other things that go into it. Referee was in good position, and you could see straight away he didn't react. He took a moment and went and consulted with his other officials and came to the conclusion. So now it means that New Lambton, that's their 4th red card of the season. Unfortunately, it's a stat for them that they're leading the league in, and they'll play the rest of this game out with 10 players.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough now. and that's not a good record when you are down in the battle they're in. They're in the relegation battle. There's no doubts about that. The last thing you probably need is to be leading the competition in red cards. So.
In reshuffle, looks like Howard's dropped back into that left back role. Good news is for all involved that Cody Ninkara is back into his reasonably full gait, it appears, and here he is. He's going to get a touch, and looking over his shoulder as Piddington pushes out after him, threads it in nicely in the midfield. Beautiful touch from Simmons. McClymont breaks it up, but it falls for Corcoran, and his spin doesn't work, and McClymont comes away with Harrison ranging forward on his own, and good strong defence from Enza breaks it up.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Ryan on this field. Ryan Enza, he's a probably undersized centre-back, but he's very mobile, and I think New Lambton are going to either look to Kent to either hold the ball up and keep it for them, win a foul, etc., or if he gets a chance like then, he's actually take the defender on quickly. And
opportunity here. O'Connor striding out, going to try and turn his pace and get around them, but tracking back across Diamond takes it away.
Another defender that's well suited to the field as well. Covers the grass, Benny Diamond, and quickly, and
it's certainly been a good acquisition for Magic since he came to them last season. So opportunity now, Smith. He just play the ball at his feet. Camper calling for it out wide, but broken up nicely. Howard racing forward. Gura comes through and so gets out to it. Continue to push their numbers forward here, New Lambton, and kind of pushes it out looking for McClymont, but a little too heavy, and Palambini tracks back and gives it to the man that's sitting on a brace at the moment, Ingram, and he goes all the way back to Alvarez, who returns the ball to him.
I still feel when New Lambton do get out on the break, there seems to be space, and Tommy O'Connor, when he's running with the ball, looks dangerous, but a bit disconnected. Kent sort of pulled away out to the right, which might be fine normally, but when you're down a number, you probably need to be a bit closer and connected.
As you say, lots of sparks and moments from New Lambton, but nothing really eventuating. And as you said, you can see that disconnect, and it's probably not helping, having a fresh face in the middle of their midfield as he tries to adjust to this team, and then trying to do it now with 10 players. And there's that man we're talking about in Furatani, plays it forward, and Gura takes away. Harrison flies in and comes out the other side. He springs back to his feet very quickly, though. Kresner out now, Camper. He'll play it down the line for Kresner, a little touch. And Kresner will be happy to allow it to go across the sideline and take the throw deep in attacking territory.
Yeah, Kent lost control a bit there as he was challenging, and that's the issue in the modern day game. You can't lose control because we've already seen it with Reedy. One wrong sort of step and you're off.
Exactly right. It's so much about that control. Played through from Palambini, broken up by Holler. Holler's been solid apart from that. A little bit of a mix-up right on half-time between he and Esquilant. As had Reed been, we talked about them in the first half until that challenge that saw him dismissed. Both of them have been probably two of the standouts for New Lambton. They've done a lot of work.
Yeah, I feel Magic are getting it really wrong at the moment. They're trying to go through the middle, and since they've gone a man down, New Lambton's become even more compact centrally. The Broadmeadow keep trying to jam that ball down the middle. It's not going to work.
Going down, cutting through the defence. He's going to try and do it all himself, is he? Yeah, he beats another couple, but eventually the numbers game plays out and he has the ball taken away. Interesting to see what they're trying to set up there. Kent Harrison was parked way out wide on the left that time.
one sort of interesting observation, it's something I think at Magic Park is, and New Lambton's done it quite well, is midfielders dribbling with the ball. It's a big field, and
Piddington sends that one into the next postcode almost. Clearance.
I know in my time here we had some good success with guys like Keanu Moore and Jose Atadi and Damon Green, some really good dribblers of the ball. Jared Baker, who's injured at the moment. Wellesley. Yeah, it's a really good field to drive through midfield with the ball. And, yeah, Tommy O'Connor's done it really well on a few occasions. I think sometimes on this field you can get lost passing the ball too much almost. Do you know what I mean? When you've got more space than you expect. And here we go with Ryan.
Still plays it well out wide now.
Again, they're getting narrow. Sam Camper's too narrow for mine here.
Plays it out in front of Riley Smith. Piddington does well. Smith doesn't quite keep it in. It'll be a goal kick. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? They're almost setting up and playing in the... If you look at the way the 18-yard box is set up between the two sides of the 18-yard box, they're just playing through that channel, and a little bit like playing doubles tennis and not using the tram tracks.
Yeah, they're just getting a bit impatient. I don't think they need to be. And obviously New Lambton's compact. They have to be. Broadmeadow's sort of doing their job for them at the moment. We're playing better with 11 against 11.
Well, it's possibly the caveat or the catch, isn't it? There's so much space. There's even more with 10, and rather than feeling the need to try and use space and move it around, it's sometimes making the other team have to defend patches of space, I suppose.
Yeah, no. I guess you just expect to sort of win the game, but you need to keep doing what you've been doing, not change.
See what they can organise on this attacking run. Now they go to Ingram. Could he possibly grab another? That'd be some story if he was to score a hat-trick here today. They come to the other side.
Yep.
Simmons cuts it back in. Nice header across the face, and Piddington races back and pushes it across, but the offside flag's gone up against Kresner. Certainly not wavering from the physicality, New Lambton. Now Howard trying to take it on. It's turned over. Simmons with a run. Tries to thread it through, but Howard coming back did well.
Yeah, there's
a little clip there from Simmons on his way back on the Japanese import.
Yeah, when the New Lambton defenders look up, there's not a hell of a lot of options, and it's where I sort of go back to running the ball a bit. When you are with 10 men, you're going to need players that can keep the ball under pressure, because you straight away you're underloaded and with the red card, and you're not always going to have a spare pass there. So it's really important the midfielders especially want this ball and want to get on the ball for them.
That's the piece, isn't it? They don't have the luxury, being 2 goals down as well, that they can just settle for this, and it's about how do they find it and utilise something. As you said when we talked at half-time before the red card, it's about trying to find that next goal. Ingram racing forward. Can he get a third? No, he finds Escalante right in the chest, and Kresner racing through, nearly got himself tangled in the back of the net. He came in at such a rate of knots, hoping for that little ball to be threaded over the keeper.
Kent's isolated up there, so I don't think that first time ball's on. I think he needs to lock it up and keep it for them, and hopefully get some midfielders supporting him, and otherwise the ball's just going to keep coming back the other way, and it's a lovely pass there by Enza.
Simmons sets Nankaro to the outside on the edge of the 18. Works against Howard. Piddington there, just sends it back out the way it came. Camper dropping it back. Corcoran now tries to thread the needle, but Guru comes away with it. Sits out for O'Connor, who cuts back in, beats Camper. He's got Howlett overlapping, and that's where they go.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need. What Tommy O'Connor just did then, burst through with the ball, broke a line and kept the ball, got him up the field now.
This is the first real time we've seen them have the opportunity to take it back and play it through the defensive line to try and switch the point, but the turnover out wide, although I was about to say Howard's not giving up. A little bit too enthusiastic, though, for the liking of the referee, and a foul will go the way of the Magic.
I think that one was a bit soft, to be fair.
Going all the way back now, the Magic. And Diamond, I'm going to just dribble and use the space for the time being, and why not? There's plenty of it on offer in front of him. Camper turns it over. Good hustle from O'Connor. Gura looking up and trying to find options. Finds McClymont. McClymont does well under pressure from Ensel. Gets Holett free, does he? Can he keep it in? Not quite. Good idea. Starting to look like they're starting to, I guess, have a bit more of an organisation, a bit of a thought about how they're going about this new Lambton.
Yeah, I think McClymont and Tommy O'Connor have been really good, I think, tonight. I think both of them have worked hard. Great challenge there by Tommy. I think he's been their best player, and probably one of the best on the park, to be fair.
Well, we saw exactly what you've been talking about, Damien. Ben Diamond just decided to dribble it all the way through. Didn't quite get the last pass right, but players just hanging off him.
Yeah, and again, sort of Kent turned the ball over there. Really needs to hold it for him, and whether it be bring the midfield into play or win a foul.
Simmons with a nice ball in behind for Kresnar. Crosses it into the box, but Esquilant out there and picks it up. But that's looking very dangerous from the Magic.
Yeah. Nice ball by Jack Simmons. Great run by James Kresnar. Pretty good hands in these conditions too by Sam Esquilant.
Starting to see some really good passages of football from both teams. No one rewarded at the moment for it, but that's what you want to see, and that's the bits of promise we talked about in the introduction. All of a sudden, overloading forward, crossed back to the back edge of the 18-yard box. Probably overhit that more than he would have liked. Kresnar now. Back for Camper. Working with Corcoran. Gura hustling and fighting. Does well. Comes away with it. And try and burn to the outside of Diamond. Diamond's no mug, though. He's quick as well. As you touched on before, their centre-back pairing, not a traditional pair of centre-backs, especially in terms of pace.
Yeah, no, what they give away in height, they take him in pace, so really good defending.
There's a lot of central defenders that Tap Gura would have left standing there with that run, but Ben Diamond more than up to the challenge. Now, Broadmeadow push forward. What can they come up with here? Pushed wide. Ingram puts it in for Palambini at the edge of the 18-yard box. That one a little optimistic, well off target.
Yeah, and you just see Ryan Enzer starting to inject himself there, which is great, but sort of left Ben Diamond one-on-one at the back. I don't really think they need that. One direct ball down the other end and you can have a red card yourself. You know, once he starts looking to inject, he needs someone to fill in there and make sure that Ben Diamond's got support. But I like him stepping in. He's good at it and good decision maker, and you don't want to stop that. But I think Magic just then in that moment, if they'd lost the ball, it was one-on-one at the back, and I don't think they need to run that risk.
Juggled by Holert. He gets a panic pass away. You can certainly see how that could, as you say, turn quickly into a red card or even just a goal the other way, and all of a sudden 2-1, and it's nervy times for the Magic.
Lovely ball again by Enzo. Really getting the midfielders on the ball. Once you start seeing Jack Simmons and co on the ball, it's a good sign for Magic and Magic supporters.
Certainly is. Lots of promise here for the Magic. It's just about getting it all to come together. 2 goals already. I'd love to find another one just to ice this as McClymont intercepts that nicely. And here we go for numbers. Ken Harrison racing away. Gura and O'Connor's on his bike heading down there to the back post. Harrison does well to hold it up this time. There's O'Connor now. Was a little bit back behind. He's going to have to track back for it, which is not ideal. He looks for Furitani, but Kresna read that like a book.
Yeah, disappointing finish, and that sort of was an example of what I was talking about. You know, it's a poor turnover by Ryan, but again, there was sort of left themselves bare at the back, and you know, they're in total control of the match. I don't think they need to play with that type of risk, to be honest.
Diamond looked up. Furitani was bearing down on him, decided to turn and lay it back to Alvarez, and Furitani retreats back to the midfield. Of course, don't forget that you can stay tuned to Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel for all men's and women's first and reserve grade NPL live and free throughout the season. A little bit of a mix-up at the back here, and a bump around this round. Most of the games still to go ahead at this time. Just one game postponed at this point, which is the Cooks Hill Western game. And tomorrow, Lambton and Edgeworth. That one's going to be a mouth-watering clash. Bell Swans and Valentine, the local derby, such a crucial clash. They're both on 8 points in 10th and 11th, respectively. And we've got Maitland and Adamstown. Maitland trying to claw back that gap. Currently sits at 3 points to the top 5. Adamstown trying to keep in the race as well. And Charlestown and Newcastle Olympic 4th plays 5th. Some pretty solid games there, Damien, as we see some changes. Here comes Jeremy Wilson. Tom Parks is going to come on for Cody Nancaro. Just trying to clarify who came off for Wilson there.
Jack Simmons. Which I can only think is sort of managing his minutes. Yeah, I think he played on Wednesday night or Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
Sure. Yeah, Tuesday night.
Win over Valentine.
Again, have a look here. They're 1v1 right at the back. I don't think they need to be taking this risk. One turnover, and there it nearly was. Yeah,
I was going to say, you feel like Piddington there just got a sniff of that too, and he's pushed up really hard to try and force it. And
mate, if they can win a ball and get it up to Kent, he's 1v1. And, I'm not sure why they're running that risk.
And you feel like a New Lambton side with 10, the gamble of Piddington, as we see, a half-hearted shot that is deflected by Piddington. The gamble's almost more worth it, because if they, get sprung on that push, then it's 3-0 with 10 players. Yeah. Whereas if they manage to get to the other end and, force a chance and, all of a sudden get a goal back, all of a sudden, as I said, it throws you. You concede upper me, and it's all of a sudden you're starting to ask questions about what's happening, and that just disconnects a few pieces. Yeah,
look, it's when you're attacking, you need to have that structure behind the ball right.
One comes in. Everyone just watching there in the end, and no surprises. It was the man who's been in everything, Tom O'Connor, in the end, that chested it down, and wasn't the most conventional of clearances, but it did the job for the time being. No one seemed ready for that to drop where it did. And Tom Parks is just watchful as this one goes for another corner, and you can see Varley Brand is just giving the boys a bit of a rev up there from New Lambton, telling them that, I think he's aware that they're not completely out of this game, even though the chips are stacked heavily against them. Here comes the corner. This one lofted up into the breeze, goes to the back post, headed by Corcoran. Esquilart comes over the pack, and the referee's going to say Riley Smith has fouled him. I don't think there was much intent in it. Riley's frustrated, but at the end of the day, if you come through and make contact with the keeper once he's got his hands on the ball, it's always going to go in his favour.
Yeah, they're quite protected, our goalkeepers. It was encouraging, but to see Brandis there trying to spark his team. They obviously feel they're still in this match, and they sort of are.
Chance here, Riley Smith puts it back into the box. It sits behind Palambini's had to turn back for it, but he's still going to get a shot away. Good diving save, Sam Esquilart. That was going inside the right post, and he got a hand to it and parried it off, and absolutely stepped up to it. And interesting to see James Kresna giving him a little pat on the back for his efforts.
Yeah, fair enough. It was a fantastic save. I thought I'd just jinxed them there, saying they were in the game, and was waiting for it to hit the back of the net. But the longer this goes and stays at 2-0, you know, I know they haven't really been a threat. Well, not at all in the second half, but things can happen in football, and I think Magic supporters want to see a goal here just to wrap things up.
Escalante full of confidence after that save. He got horizontal and stretched right out before. This time he's vertical, up, hands above. Look, you know, it's easy to say, you know, that you can point fingers at a goalkeeper when they're 2-0 down, but outside of that communication mix-up again, he's been quite good. Yeah. Escalante, you know, you can see the potential he's got about him.
He's got a great physique for a keeper. Another one was in the Jets Academy.
It's a momentary pause while we treat an injury, and I think I just heard the call for Bailey Wells.
Quite interesting. We sort of talked about, you know, the kilometres New Lambton's midfield we're going to have to do, and yeah, we've got Broadmeadow player going down with cramp, and the midfield for New Lambton are powering. Tommy O'Connor, I know, can run, but McClymont and yeah, the new import, they've been really good today, and their performance has been encouraging, I think, for New Lambton.
So it has Jaden Stewartson on for Ezra Palambini, I think. So. And
it's okay. You bring on Bailey Wells.
I was going to say you got Bailey Wells and Jaden Stewartson as a double change there. That's yeah.
He's got a fan club here, Stewie.
He has, and I saw straight away a little bit of banter between him and Piddington. I'm sure they've come together a few times over recent years.
Yep. And at training, I'd say a few times.
Yeah, Broadmeadow, no excuse not to turn the screws and put that final nail in the coffin with a cast of fresh players on in this second half. And a man advantage. They swing wide. Camper. O'Connor, as you said, still racing around like he's fresh as. Camper again, chased down by O'Connor, drops it back for Smith, and to that point, Damien, I think the only excuse they might have is the traffic of Tuesday night. They played that game out at Crowder's Bay, so...
Yeah, and look, you can look at it and say, well, knocked off a few cobwebs and that, but also you're not used to it.
It's here for Park, tries to thread it through.
So the fatigue is still there. I still think they're getting it wrong here by not maintaining a bit more width. And
Furitani calm under pressure there. The second defensive effort from Wells, though, sees him dispossessed. Now Smith. Stewartson calling for it in the box. He finds him. He's got his back to goal. Lays it off for Wells. Plays it a little wider, and not exactly a technical clearance by a combination of Brandis and Piddington, but works nonetheless. They're pushing numbers forward heavily here, Broadmeadow. If it pays off, it's going to seal it, but O'Connor there again. Again, Harrison just almost 1v1 with now Ensa back there. Diamond the one pushing up this time.
Yeah, I think he's better off not defending, just positioning himself to get a ball if they do win it. You know, whether he's defending or not, I don't think it's going to make a hell of a difference, but he might be able to get something quick, whether Escalante gets it and or they win the ball and go quick, and he might be able to get something, whether it be a goal or a foul that draws a red card, you know, one-on-one at the back. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure why they're sort of allowing that magic.
It seems interesting, and despite the fact they're pushing all those numbers forward and they're still reasonably narrow, they just can't find that ball, and they end up taking those long-range shots too. So it's not like it's paying dividends, creating lots of chance at the other end as Corcoran.
You can see even then it was on to go out the other side, and now all the boys on the other side start narrowing up. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's sort of I think the first goal came from that changing the point of attack, and I think that was, for me, how things were going to work well for them tonight, but they've gone away from it. Even now, I still think Sam's too narrow. But
Bailey Wells with some magic in the box. And
look, even Bailey's not going to get through that. You know, it's just too compact there.
Wilson out for Camper. Someone must be listening to the coverage, though, because Corcoran started covering back when Ensa's going forward. So
well, that's a good thing.
Obviously been listening to you, Damien. Riley Smith gets a bit of space, takes a shot and beats a dive from Esquilart. That's a wonderful strike back across his body from Riley Smith, and that's the nail you feel in the coffin for New Lambton. A third goal for Broadmeadow with 15 minutes remaining here at Magic Park.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's the end of it here tonight, but it's a lovely strike there by Riley.
Esquilart did well. He was coming across to his left, got back to his right, almost got his hand down to it, but it was just too good of a strike from Riley Smith, and we know what a quality finisher he is. And we do see a change coming on for New Lambton, double change. Dylan Christopherson and Hugh Brown coming on. O'Connor. Just trying to identify who's come off. It looks like Harrison has come off, has he? No, he's there at the front. Oh, he is off. Harrison's off, and Meadow going on the attack.
Hollick came off it right back.
Oh, it has come off.
And
Magic creating something. Escalate.
I think you're right. Cameron Howard's gone into the attacking mid.
Guru's gone forward.
Yeah, Kent's come off.
Maybe just looking for a bit of spark and pace and putting those balls through maybe for Guru with a bit more pace. We'll see. It's a long way back though. Smith pushes it wide, headed away for the time being. O'Connor, he's been close to, if not the best on the pitch, despite the scoreline. Guru now all of a sudden with a spring in his step. And climb on. Plays it wide. Brandis. Esquilar's going to drive it long and deep. Send it down to his opposite man in Alvarez, who's wandered out from his 18-yard box.
Yeah, I think like Tap's a different player. He's going to want to come and connect, and yeah, I think it probably suits the running type of striker. If they're going to get anything out of this game, like just then, you know, Tap's going to drop down rather than hold a high line. But it comes down to your options on the bench, doesn't it? Broadmeadow's got a, you know, all-star bench, and you know, New Lambton's got some up-and-comers.
Opportunity for Christopherson and Brown, though, to just make their mark a little. That's all you can really do when you're coming on trailing by 3. This one curled in dangerously, but sluices away from everyone a little too heavy in the end, and unsurprisingly, Sam Esquilar's going to have a little drink of water. He's not in too much of a hurry after already having to pick the ball out of his net 3 times in just under 80 minutes.
Yeah, and still a lot to play for. I think they'll take a lot out of the first half, and they've been gritty in the second half. Down a man. So, like I said earlier, that, you know, losing to Magic at Magic Park won't get you relegated. If they can maintain this performance and keep building, I can't see any reason, you know, once they get a breakthrough and get one win, that they can't get a couple and get themselves out of the position they are.
Great if we could see it, you know, coming down to those last couple of weeks, you know, 2 or 3. It'd be great if we had sort of 3 or 4 sides, you know, and there's obviously the 3 candidates there at the moment sitting around those points, but realistically, once you get above them, then it's sort of, you know, 1 or 2 points each spot on the ladder. So, you know, a bit of a poor run for other sides, and they could quickly find themselves down in those positions in terms of how it shapes up. So you certainly hope they can start to get a couple of wins as they head into that back end of the season.
And like you said, with so many games coming in a flurry, a lot can change in 2-3 weeks. You might have 4 or 5 games that go well or don't go so well, and yeah, you might have to reevaluate the position you're in during the season.
You do have a little period there sort of towards the back end, I think rounds 18, 19, 20, where they've got Cooks, Hill, Valentine and Bell Swans all in a matter of 3 weeks. So hopefully it's not all done and dusted by that point, and maybe a little bit of a run, a couple other points and maybe a win before that, and all of a sudden they can go on a charge. And you see those teams that it's not about getting towards finals at that point, just staving off relegation, and you can imagine what that would do to galvanise this group if they could do that.
You also see a bit, they must have got the draw this year at New Lambton and been cursing it. You look at that draw to start the season, it's horrific, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't get your season off to the greatest start, does it? So.
Oh my goodness, Riley Smith nearly had a double. Esquilant was out off his line trying to get the ball, and if Smith had got that on target, you feel it could have been absolutely unsavable for Sam Esquilant.
Would have been a lovely goal. Will Ingram down the left, lovely cross. Puts that in the roof of the net. It's a really nice goal.
Angus McLeod, another change coming for the Magic, and Riley Smith will only have the one goal for tonight because he's going to head to the bench.
So there's nothing worse than missing a goal and then getting subbed without getting a chance to
atone
it.
Yeah, it almost looks to the average punter too, like that's why you've been dragged, right?
When if you put that in the roof of the net, the substitution, he probably would have been spewing that he's on 2 goals and got taken off at any rate. So I don't think any striker's ever happy to get taken off.
No, there's always a story of what could have been otherwise. So 8.5 or so minutes remaining here of regulation time. Broadmeadow continuing the procession towards extending their lead at the top of the table. A very optimistic appeal for handball there from a couple of Broadmeadow players, but it will be a corner that Tom Parks will take over there. And crowd their numbers in the 6-yard box. You go the short corner for Wells. He feigns across it in. Taken away, Gura. Bailey just gives him a little hug, and tap goes to ground, and the referee says that will be enough to constitute a foul. Valley Brandis is being a little generous with where he's rolling the ball out to, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference.
Well, they got away with one there, and you probably want to know where Bailey Wells is when the corner's coming in.
Wilson finds Stewartson. Will he take a strike from range? No, lays it off. Wells open, takes a shot. Esquilant parries it with both hands. Brandis heads it away. A good save. And I'll tell you what, just watching the body language there after Tom O'Connor blocked that, and then as he turned, he pushed it across the byline. He was disappointed that that tells you about what it means to these guys. Every little bit, there's lots of people that have been thinking at 3-0, they're kind of just, switched off and thinking about next week or something else. But each little contest to some of these young guys means so much, and that's why, as you said before, there's still plenty to take out of this game. Yeah,
and he's been fantastic, Tommy. He's working hard and he gets that type of luck, Yeah, he's been, like I said, if they can perform like this.
Ingram, little tap on from Parks to the back post, and Piddington gets a little head away, and Broadmeadow to continue to turn the screws.
Yeah, if they can perform like this more often than not, then I can see them winning some games. So whether it's enough games, probably depends when they do get that first win, and they probably need it to happen soon just to re-energise the group and keep them believing in what they're doing. Because, like I said, I don't think they've been
drifts up, Stewartson almost gets ahead to it. It beat Esquilant, and they'll clear it away. Piddington just plays it down for Gura. It certainly seems like, as you say, this is probably one of the better efforts they're building. They've still got some players to come back in, and if they can get to full strength and continue to push on, you feel like a win surely has to come. And on that point you're talking about before with the luck of the draw, you have a look at a team, and again, there's not much you can do in terms of how it comes out. It just is the luck of the draw. But, Bell Swans drew an Adamstown side that weren't quite in their rhythm first round, and that's probably set them up in a bit better of a spot to not be sitting where, New Lambton are, or maybe sitting on, 4 points or 5 points at this point of the season.
Yeah, and look at a higher level. Just look at Auckland FC. Got quite a good draw to start with. A lot of home games in their instance, and you know the start of the season can really shape how your season goes, and the rest was history. They win the premiership, right? So yeah, they would have been looking at that draw and been spewing.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. You just have to play against who you do, and then even the way their washouts have fallen now, they've got, as I said, that tough run where they've got 4 or 5 of the top 6 teams, I think, over the next little bit. So again, it could be stealing though. You get a bit of a result, and again, I'm sure Shane Price will be talking to them about the positives they can take from this. There's been some really big efforts despite the result, and we saw Lambton Jaffers come here earlier in the season. They got done 5-0. So there's no shame in getting beat by Broadmeadow Magic at Magic Park, especially when you're coming off a long break. It'd be great to see them get one back here, actually, I think, for the confidence. And Brown bombing forward here. Ben Diamond again. He's just so quick. Yeah. I was going to say, did he get a little touch on that? Referee says no, he didn't, so we'll have a goal kick. But Brown showing plenty of enthusiasm. The fresh legs, just wants to push forward. And that's the other positive here, is that despite the depth of the Magic squads in the reserve grade game earlier, New Lambton led that early and took it right to Broadmeadow and forced them to go deep to win 3-2. So the club as a whole is pushing in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's I guess now with relegation, clubs are building, and it's imperative you get some results up the top. We're starting now to sort of experience.
Guru's going to receive a card here. Just a little careless, and the timing not ideal.
Yeah, I think that's fatigue setting in. And again, but you've got to be careful these days.
Second yellow of the season. Again, start talking about relegation. There's a man that knows all about it. He was at Lake Macquarie last year.
Yeah. Well, he was at Edgeworth years ago when I was out there when he was a young guy. Tap has the ability to do special things and works really hard at his game. So yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't want to go through that again.
Ratani charging forward there. Brown with a clearance that's...
Yeah, one thing that's really stood out to me, like I said, McClellan, Fudanari and Tom O'Connor, their work rate today has been phenomenal. Yeah.
I certainly think, as you say, that's one of those big positives, is just the effort areas. I mean, there's some things that, the amount of ability, the depth of your squad, they're at this point of the season, they're not beyond control, but they are what they are at this stage. But the effort is the piece that, that's what it comes down to in terms of the want and the desire. So, lots of positives there. Bailey Wells, dangerous in the box, gets past Piddington, manages to keep it in, but no Magic jerseys there. Ratani comes forward, gets a nice ball for Gura, but Gura can't control it.
Yeah, he's getting tired now. I'd say there's a few of them. Little sleep well tonight.
Long range shot, Enser decides he wants to try and get on the score sheet. But it would have been 2 points in a couple of the other football codes, but none here tonight.
Pretty sure I did say he doesn't score many.
He's still ruining that missed header, I think, and he just wanted to try and get on the score sheet. It would have been stunning from that range.
Yeah. Well, that's more his range. I'm not sure that's his range just there, but...
Oh. Corcoran goes to ground in the box. A little bit of a cry out, but the referee again right in position and happy to continue on. An update from the women's NPL game that's going on at the moment over at Darling Street, not too far away, and Maitland on the top sides are dominating Newcastle Olympic 4-0 late in that one.
Yeah, that's a big result, isn't it?
Certainly is. Maitland and Charlestown in that two-horse race at the top, and that'll keep Maitland on top. So both the top sides taking wins tonight in the men's and women's respectively.
Yeah, I saw the cup final out there the other week. I was out, my daughter was ball boying for the Jets girls youth team. And
braving the rain.
Yeah, they had a great win against Mount Druitt, top of the table, and I was watching a cracking game on the other field as well, which was Maitland and Charlestown.
I was commentating that one with Tara Andrews, and we were hearing some serious animation because that Mount Druitt side was undefeated. As we see the fourth official indicate 3 minutes of time added on, and they had a very talented side in their first season up in the competition. So for the girls to, I think it was 5-2, as you said.
5-2, yeah. So it was a great effort, and like I said, there's plenty of goals going around everywhere. Yeah, look, from the parts I was watching, the Maitland Charlestown game looked a really high quality game.
Yes, it was a bit of the Molina Ayres show. She got a double that steered them to a strong performance. So it's quite a veritable feast of some of the current and ex-A League players that are getting around. I called New Lambton the other night, last Friday night, as a strike from range, and what a goal! Jaden Stewartson, he makes it 4-0 from the top of the 18-yard box. And what an impact to have coming off the bench. Stewartson buries it past the diving Esquilant. His second goal of the season.
Fantastic finish. Loves the goal here at Magic Park, the Stewie, and just an old school 9. Stewie does simple things, holds the ball up, brings your midfielders like Wellesley into play, and has a knack for scoring goals. So again, you go back to the firepower that Broadmeadow's bringing off the bench, and you sort of look at the congested schedules coming up, and being able to rotate players in or out and maintain your performance is going to be important. And yeah, I think Broadmeadow showed they're going to be able to do that.
Bertani's going to try and do it all himself. He beats 3, couldn't beat the 4th. Not done yet. O'Connor gets the ball to his feet. Tries to play it wide. And couldn't find a target. Magic now, they've got 4 on the board, and might be a little bit of mirror image stuff. Both the top teams, the men's and the women's, both 4-0 on a Friday night. What a way to start the round. Plenty of cracking games to come, as I said. Some of those games, when you have a look at them, we're talking about them before, obviously the local derby, Valentine and Bell Swans has a lot on the line. We're talking relegation before.
I think the sort of pleasing thing for Cresno would be, well, they're close to a clean sheet here. They kept one against Valentine. I was sort of surprised they, with their defensive line, that they were conceding, I guess, not a hell of a lot of goals, but it's sort of more than I expect for a pretty talented back line. So there's their second clean sheet since their return. So
certainly is, and I think the best way to sum it up is that top teams do find ways, and Magic have done just that. They're a little bit scrappy at times, I think it's fair to say, but they did enough to get the job done and stay on top of the league. Damien, was that the performance of a champion side, do you think, or do you think they've still got another gear or two to kick into?
I think the fact that they're keeping clean sheets now shows that they're going to be up there. I think the power of the depth they've got coming off bench, whoever it be from week to week, also proves they're going to be one of the teams to beat. Didn't perform at their greatest, but like I said, it's really nice when you knock off teams you're expected to, and the clean sheet is a big one for me. 2 games in a week, clean sheet. As long as they're sort of injury-free, I'd say they'll be really happy with that return.
I'm sure they will. That sits them 4 points atop the ladder. Well done to the Magic. Goals to Stewartson, Smith, and a double to Ingram to see them win 4-0. Don't forget you can continue to watch all of the NPL men's and women's first and reserve grade here live and free on the Northern New South Wales Football YouTube channel. That action continues on tomorrow, starting with the enthralling clash Lambton v Edgeworth at 2 p.m. Plenty more to come across the weekend. Signing out for myself, Chris McPherson and Damien Zane. A big thank you for tuning in, and enjoy your football this weekend.